Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Monday Motivation Spotlight, brought to you every single Monday from Netanya or Jerusalem, depending where I am at the time. I'm Lesley Kaplan, the co-host and founder of the series, co-hosted with ACI, with a grant from the Reinhardt Foundation, and our sponsor for this month, Jerusalem Fine Realty J Homes. So every week, as you know, some of you are new, most of you are regulars. We join live at 9 o'clock Israel time, 9 to 9:30, 30 minutes of inspiration to help us get through these challenges in our challenging world, challenging times for Israel. This series, as you know, was started as a result of the war in terms of inspiring us and at the same time giving exposure to business owners, individuals, and organizations in Israel. Today, we have a special guest who some of you, and many of you, should I say, know her personally. Some of you may not know her, who's going to share tips with us about home care, comfort in the home. I'll introduce her in just a moment. I remind you too, feel free to share your business details. If you are a business owner, feel free to share your business details in the chat with any links. Feel free to participate in the conversation. That's the advantage of joining live. If you have any questions for Sandy, our guest, feel free to do so. And let us know also how you're feeling and give us any tips of inspiration at the same time. So Sandy, let me spotlight her at the same time, and we'll be on the screen together. Sandy Brudner, who I know from Jerusalem from a couple of years back, and also through the different networking groups around Israel. Sandy is a home designer, a home planner. She made aliyah with her family from Toronto a couple of years ago. In fact, you can share with us exactly how many years ago it is, Sandy. I'm not sure exactly how many years ago, but once she made aliyah, she fulfilled her dream of basically starting her own design company, Sandy B Interiors, and she assists clients all the way through with home design, planning, and all the different aspects. So Sandy, good morning. Great to have you here with us. Please share with us not only your moments of inspiration, but also some tips on comfort tips on how we can make ourselves feel more comfortable in our homes during this time. Thank you so much. I'm going to unspotlight myself and you'll be on the spotlight.
Thanks, Lesley. So happy to be here and so nice to see so many friendly faces. So I just read a couple of days ago, last week, that on Ynet News, that aliyah has increased from the US, from Canada, from France by quite a bit. This actually makes me a bit sad and excited. Sad because it's a result of world events that this is happening, and excited because I know that so many new families will be joining us in Israel. We'll be making Israel home, and we'll enjoy the joy of living here in Israel. I too, along with my family, decided to make aliyah as a result of world events many years ago. So my aliyah journey started approximately over 18 years ago when I made aliyah with my husband and 6 kids, who at the time were 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, and 11. Today, my kids range in age from the age of 20 to 30, and we have 3 Baruch Hashem cute little granddaughters that we adore. Together with my husband, I own and operate Sandy B Interiors. It's a design company that I founded shortly after arriving. We design and plan homes for clients living overseas. We take care of all the aspects of the build and design, starting from the initial planning stage through to completion. My husband takes care of the business development, and I take care of all the creative aspects. So during the course of our projects, I get to know my clients really well. I go through a lengthy questionnaire with them at the start of the project, where I ask them many questions about their lives, their family, their habits, their likes, their dislikes. And this really helps me to get to know them well and also tailor their home according to their needs and to their desires and to their passions. During the course of our projects, my clients who are from out of town will normally come in for approximately a week. Sometimes they come in once or 2 times during the project. And during these times, I'll book off a week with them, and we'll spend most times a day, 3, 5, 7 days going throughout the country and visiting our suppliers, making our selections, furniture and tiles, and all the selections that they need for their homes. It's during these visits that I feel my clients get to know me quite well. We travel the country, spend a lot of time in the car, and that's when our conversations come up about our personal lives, our family life, worldviews, different aspects of what we love to do, our work, Israel. So I find that two questions that come up most often with my clients in these conversations is why I made aliyah and how I started my business. So that's two things that I want to speak to you about today. Growing up, I had no intention of making Israel home. I was a Toronto girl that stayed close to home. I didn't come to Israel for seminary. I didn't travel with friends, and I didn't travel with my husband before we got married. I also never envisioned myself as an interior designer. That wasn't a dream of mine when I was growing up. And with regards to Israel, I always thought that it was a destination place. I came many, many times with my family growing up. And we came to Israel, we traveled, we visited family, we floated in the Dead Sea. We came, of course, to the Kotel and gained spiritual connections. We traveled to all the Kivrei Tzadikim throughout the country. But when our trip was over, we left, we went back to our comfortable home. From an early age of 12, I worked in my father's printing business. And most summers, that's what I did. And I always thought that I had to follow in my father's footsteps of being an entrepreneur. Little did I know that actually interior design very much falls into that category. Like many Jewish grandparents, mine suggested to me on many of occasions that I should be a doctor. That just was not in the cards for me. Fast forward to when I was 18, my husband proposed to me after 4 years of dating. I met him when I was 14, and I finally became the adult that he could legally marry. He was 4 years older at the time, so he was 18 when we met, and about 21, 22 when we got engaged. In fact, he put the engagement ring on my finger, and within a few short breaths reminded me that he wanted to move to Israel. He spoke about moving to Israel many, many times. Of course, I said yes, and then I said, we'll talk about aliyah in the future. It took me quite a bit of time to talk about aliyah. I had my family, I had my volunteering, I had my friends. Israel just wasn't in the cards. But my husband continued to talk about aliyah, and then eventually he gave up. In my mid-20s, I was involved in a family construction project where I helped plan and coordinate the build out of a few custom-made homes. So I worked with the architect and the project manager at the time, and I really got to know a good aspect of managing projects. This is where my first thoughts of interior design started to come to the surface, but I felt that interior design was a very materialistic profession, that there's so much material involved, and that so much money was being spent on homes and the material aspect. And I felt that I was more of a spiritual person, and that I needed something with more of a purpose and a meaning in my life. It was just September 11th, 2001, when I sent my kids off to school. And a friend of mine, good friend of mine that I was in carpool with, called me and said, you have to watch the TV, you have to see the news. I didn't have TV at the time, so I ran over to her. I was watching the reruns of the First Trade Center collapsing, and within a couple of minutes, I saw, I think with the rest of the world, as a second plane crashed into the World Trade Center, and then a couple minutes later collapsed. This event left a huge impression on my life. A month later, it was a Shabbat afternoon. We were at home just after lunch, and there was a huge explosion in Toronto. It was Shabbat, so we couldn't turn on the radio. We couldn't turn on the news, so I had no idea what it was. And my mind just started racing. Later, after Shabbat finished, we understood that it was a gas canister that had exploded, but my mind was already racing. I thought that if the events of September 11th could happen in the US, I didn't feel safe in Canada. And if the events of September 11th could happen, then I felt like I needed to come home to Israel. Whereas in the past, I kept thinking about many different factors that were in my life, my family, my extended family, our work, my volunteering, my comfortable life in Toronto. I now started to think about me, my immediate family, my husband, my kids, and that I needed to do what was best for us. It took us a couple of years to start putting the wheels in motion. We had a successful business that we had to organize or sell. We still didn't know what we were doing with that. We had our home that we needed to figure out what to do, sell or rent. There were so many different aspects to consider and so many responsibilities that we needed to figure out what to do with. But in early 2005, with a lot of questions and anxiety of not knowing what we would do in Israel, where we would work, where we would live, what we would do, how we would make friends, how the kids get acclimated, we started to give it strong consideration and put the wheels in motion. Another big consideration for me was, if you picked up, I have Baruch Hashem 6 kids. 5 of those kids are boys, and 4 of them are just over a year apart, 13 months apart, 15 months apart, and 17 months apart. So for me, my consideration for me was that they're gonna grow older, get bigger, mature, and need to join the army. So within my thinking that, of course, they will probably be in the army at the same time, or during a 6 to 7 year period, a few of them will be together at the same time. And that, of course, gave me some fear. And intuitively, I don't know why, I thought for sure within a 6-7 year period, there will definitely be a war. But I decided that I needed to have faith and trust in Hashem that everything would work out. So we started to take our first steps, enrolling the kids into school and making flight arrangements. I came across a number of roadblocks. At the time, the school that we had chosen was telling me that there was no room for the kids. And we still had many questions. I found, though, as we did take those steps, enrolling the kids into school, making our flight arrangements, that Hashem opened the doors and made everything fall into place slowly by slowly. And so by the beginning of 2005, we were well on our way. We were packing up our home and had a goal for that summer of 2005. In July 2005, we arrived with our 6 kids. And as I went through the thoughts and motions of aliyah prior to making aliyah, I questioned myself many times, why am I choosing this difficult life? I could stay in Toronto. We have a comfortable life. We have our home. We have a successful business. We have our 2 cars. We have our friends and family here. I had 2 nannies. I had a weekday nanny and had a weekend nanny. So I kept thinking, why am I choosing this difficult life? My heart was being pulled between my thoughts were being pulled between my heart and my brain. They weren't talking the same language. But we continued to full stream ahead, again, with faith and trust. And once we arrived in Israel, I realized that I didn't choose the difficult path. I chose the blessed path and a path that Hashem was gifting me with. I felt like I was handpicked out of a large Toronto community. Not everyone had this opportunity to make Israel home. I didn't wonder anymore why I was taking on this path. I actually wondered what took me so long. So shortly after settling in, my passion for interior design started to surface again. I found that Israel expanded my soul, that it inspired me, and that my artistic passions came to life. I enrolled in a design school in Tel Aviv. My husband was very supportive with the kids. I had my kids were still very young, and it was a rambunctious home. But my husband was very supportive, and he allowed me the opportunity to study. At the time, there were no English-speaking schools like there is now in interior design, and there wasn't a supported English community of interior designers like there is today. So I enrolled in a Hebrew speaking school of arts in Tel Aviv. It was not easy, it was difficult. I remember after the first class, the teacher calling me over and saying, "Do you understand what I'm saying?" I had to watch her lips and hear what she was saying in order to understand. And the fact that it's a very visual topic made it a little bit easier, but I was determined. So I hired a tutor to come to my house once a week, and we would go over the material that we were learning in class. And I also hired a translator. I had an English tutor for my kids that would come to my house once a week. So I hired her to translate my textbook. And between these two, that's how I was able to make it, along with being able to give my presentations in English. Towards the end of my course, my husband and I bought our home, which we live in today. It's in a new development project, and it was completely customizable. So I planned, with the help of this architect that I had hired to tutor me, I designed this custom home, and I had the architect and the project manager of the project really help me along. They held my hand throughout the process, and they taught me so much. I felt like this was a really amazing first project. It was a great jumpstart to my career, and I'm so grateful that I had that first opportunity. I know that I made one mistake throughout the process, which was a little mistake, so I had lots to be proud of. And I know during this process, being able to design my home here in Israel and just being here in Israel, I no longer had the limiting belief that interior design was purely materialistic. I actually found so much meaning and purpose in creating homes in Israel, especially for families living overseas, families who are making aliyah and who have made aliyah in the past. I feel like I'm partnering with them in making Israel their home and in helping them fulfill their dreams of having a home here in Israel. Especially over the last few years since COVID, I've witnessed how important our homes are to our well-being. Our homes are at the root of our lives. It's the place we feel safe and secure, and the place that nurtures us and our families. We need to have a place that motivates us and inspires us as we start our day, and a place that nourishes us and rejuvenates us at the end of the day. There are so many elements that we can incorporate into our homes to make it a home that meets our needs and our dreams. So here's an assignment for you and some tips. I suggest that you start with a small room, maybe a bedroom, and follow these steps. First, declutter. My rule is if I haven't used it in a year, I don't need it, I won't use it. And if I do need it, I'll buy it. Find a piece of art that you love. I suggest you take something with colors that you like, whether they're muted colors or bright colors, something that you really like. It could be an inspiration quote. It could be a piece of art that you buy. It could be something that you pull off of the internet. Pull one color off of this piece. Now paint a wall, an accent wall, in this color that you absolutely love. Add an area rug that complements the space, and take that color that you've painted that wall and add a few accent pillows. They don't have to be exactly the same color, but they should be in the same family. You can add a throw. You can add decor pieces of the same color. You can add a light fixture, plants. There's so many little things that you can do to improve the look of your home. You'll see that the look of the room will be different, and you'll also feel differently. I want to end off with this thought. Last week, I went to a workshop where we prepared a vision board. To start, the facilitator asked us what we love about Israel. So I love so many things about Israel, and that's what I said. I love the weather. I love the culture. I love the architecture. I love the spiritual connection that we can travel and walk throughout the country and know that we're traveling and walking the same footsteps that our mothers and fathers before us generations ago walked. But there were two common themes that really resonated with everybody. The first was that Israel is home, plain and simple. And the second one was that here in Israel, we can be our true, authentic and real selves. I feel blessed that Israel is home for me, and I'm thankful to Hashem for allowing me to make Israel home. I also feel blessed that I'm able to be part of Israel's landscape in making Israel beautiful, one home at a time. Thanks, Lesley, and thanks to everybody.
Thank you, Sandy. Wow, wow, wow. I found that so inspiring, and I'm sure that many others do. We have a question in terms of the home that you were talking about. Are you still in the same home now? And would you do anything different, knowing what you know now in terms of your aliyah, any part of it?
I'm in the same home now. This is my home behind us. Yes. We really love being here. We actually purchased it as an investment. We had no intention of moving into it. But as I started to plan it and to actually visualize it as it was coming to its final fruition, we decided to move into it. My husband says that that's very dangerous because at the time he was investing in properties and he said we can't keep them all.
Your
But
home is
yes,
in Jerusalem. Somebody asked, is it the German
yes,
colony? Is that where you
yeah,
are?
we're in Katamon, just
That's the one.
on yeah, just by San Simon Park.
Right,
And so
right.
what was the other question? Would I do anything differently in my aliyah journey? I'm happy with my journey. I'm happy with the way it turned out. Thank God. We had a lot of ups and downs as we were going through. Again, I had 4 little kids and then 2 older ones. So I found that I had lots of ups and downs with my 2 older kids. In fact, when we were in the process of making aliyah, I put a lot of questions out, and I was told, I think by a rabbi, if I remember, that if you don't make aliyah this year, like this is your cutoff. Your son is already 11 years old. If you don't make aliyah now, then you won't be able to make aliyah for years until they're all finished high school. So that I could not see myself staying in Toronto for another 18 years. So I said, we need to make it work now. So thank God, I'm happy that I took that step. And like I said, I don't know what took me so long.
That is so true. I think it happens with many things in life that we say once something happens, why didn't we do it sooner? And aliyah could certainly be one thing, but with many other areas in our life. And I think it's largely related to firstly, with aliyah, it's different because it's also you're in a job, you have family, whatever it is, but it's related also to the number one, to the fear of changing. But also, you never know that the grass is greener on the other side until you hop to the other side. And actually, interesting enough, I just wrote a Facebook post yesterday on my page. We're coming up for 34 years now, my family, Baruch Hashem, in this wonderful country. And I remember too, when we're planning Aliyah, firstly, we all have our different reasons for making Aliyah and what's, with the push or the impetus. And with us too, the guy that I was dating at the time that became my husband, he would only date a woman that was interested in moving to Israel. So I actually joke with people and I say either I was adventurous or I was stupid because I agreed to move to Israel having never visited Israel. The first time that I visited Israel was when I was already engaged to him. So, take it as you want, as adventurous or stupid. I like to think that I was adventurous, and Baruch Hashem, we haven't, looked back. And as I wrote in the post, despite the challenges, and there's no country that's perfect, there's no other country that I'd want to be in. And the people that don't live in Israel, it's difficult to often explain the ingredients of what it feels like to live here, what makes the quality of life so strong, even though we have the challenges that we do have, and especially now during a war. And I'm sure that's something that you can identify with too.
Definitely, yes.
Right, right. Anything else, another 1 or 2 minutes before we end off, that you'd like to share with our listeners about something in the home, anything to give us comfort in addition to the points that you mentioned?
Really to see the home for what it is. Like I said, it's the root of our home. And everybody has something that will inspire them. So take those inspirations and bring them into your home. And it doesn't have to be a whole renovation. It could be little things that you add to your home. Like I said, adding pillows, adding decor, a beautiful piece of art. it's the little things that make the big difference.
Right, absolutely. Where are your children now, Sandy? Do you have any in the army now?
So I have
The 5
three.
boys?
I
At it all?
have three who were in the army. One of them actually just finished. I have 3 boys that were in Sadir now over the last number of years. I have one that's in the Navy. He's in Haifa in the Navy. I have one who actually just got discharged last week from the Air Force. And I have one that's in a base by Ramallah. So for now I have 2. One of them just finished, so he's actually doing a Shiluvim program, so he's continuing on to yeshiva. It's part of the army service. But yeah, he's happy to be finished. But we have two that are still there right now.
That are still there. And that reminds us of what you said initially about your fear of making aliyah was with 5 boys having to go into the army. But I think we see it from a different perspective now that we're actually living here and integrated and that they're fully Israeli too.
They're fully Israeli, and that now the way I see it is just with so much proudness and respect and awe.
Right, exactly. Well, Sandy, thank you so much for sharing your very inspiring story with us. It's interesting how you know someone or you think you know someone, but you actually don't know their background until a program like this comes along where you get involved in a deep conversation. So I love these ideas about getting to meet and learn more and more about people, getting to develop other businesses. Thank you once again, Sandy, for being our guest for today. Monday Motivation Spotlight. Every Monday, 9 to 9:30. I invite you also to look at my YouTube channel and Spotify. If you missed any of the other episodes, we've had some awesome speakers who have all given us inspiration in a different way, whether it's about aliyah, whether about a trauma that they've been through. So join us every week, Monday Motivation Spotlight. Our guest next week is Ze'ev Schwartz, who is the founder and the executive director of Torah Mitzion, who places shlichim in all countries abroad. So we're going to hear some very interesting information about what they're seeing with their shlichim and the whole process behind it, especially now during a war, and in general about shlichim and running an organization like this. Thank you once again for joining us. Have a safe, fabulous day. Thank you again, Sandy, and we look forward to seeing you next week on the Monday Motivation Spotlight. Thank you again to our sponsors and to our co-host, ACI. Bye-bye. Have a good day. Have a great week.